Hello, fellow food lovers. Today I will be making Chinese cumin lamb. You will need 1 pound of lamb thinly sliced, half a medium onion, 2 green onion, 1 tablespoon garlic, salt, cornstarch, 1 teaspoon of cumin, either whole or ground up. This is a very famous dish from Western China, from the Xinjiang area, west of Tibet. Okay, so I got 4 pieces of garlic. I'm gonna smash it and then mince it. Okay, so I got 2 green onions. I'm gonna wash it and then cut the roots off. Now, cut into like half-inch pieces. So I'm going to take half of a medium onion, cut the ends off and take off the outer layer that's unedible. And I'm going to just slice it into thin slices. So I'm going to separate all the layers so it's easier to cook when I'm stir frying it. Okay, so I got about a pound of lamb here, thinly sliced. I'm going to season it with a dash of salt. Mix the salt into the meat. Then I'm going to add a tablespoon of cornstarch. So I'm going to do a technique that's pretty common in Chinese cooking called passing through the oil. They usually do it with beef and pork and sometimes chicken and lamb, definitely. So to do that, you want to coat the meat in a little bit of cornstarch. So I added a tablespoon of cornstarch and I mixed it into the meat so it's well coated. And then we're going to shallow fry it, or you can even deep fry it. So I got the wok. It's a third filled with oil. It's on high heat, so it's been heating for 5 minutes. So to test the temperature, I use a wooden chopstick. I dip into the oil, and if the chopstick bubbles, if there's oil bubbling around the chopstick, then the oil's hot enough. So I'm going to drop the lamb into the oil. So I'm going to put half the lamb in, and then once that's done, I'll do a second batch. And this is called passing the meat through the oil. Basically, it's just a quick deep fry, or you can even shallow fry it with a cup of oil before you stir fry it. So you want to kind of deep fry it until it's maybe 70% cooked, 80% cooked. So it won't take very long. It's very thinly sliced meat, so it'll cook quite fast. I'm going to give it a stir, move it around. Yeah, so you can do this with beef and pork and even chicken too if you like, before you add it into a stir fry. So I got some paper towels sitting behind the wok, sitting on a plate that I can put the meat on so I could drain some of the oil. Give it a shake, get as much oil as you can out of it before you take it out. So I'm going to add the second batch, the other half pound of lamb, into the oil. You can see the oil's kind of bubbling. That's because of the cornstarch that's on the meat. It's kind of getting into the oil and making it bubble. Okay, so that second batch has been cooking for a couple minutes now, so it's going to be coming out pretty soon. Yeah, so this is a dish that comes from the Uyghur people that live in Xinjiang in Western China. They're kind of like a Muslim minority in China. So I recycle the oil, so I'm just going to strain it through a sieve, and I keep it in a pot on top of the stove for when I have to deep fry. And I'm going to wash the wok for when I do the stir fry. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of oil into a hot wok. And I'm going to add the onions. I'm going to stir fry the onions for maybe a minute or so. Yeah, so this is a dish that's from the Uyghur people, which is like a Muslim minority that live in Western China. Since they're Muslims, they can't eat pork, so lamb makes up a big part of their diet. And cumin isn't really a Chinese ingredient, but it's definitely an ingredient for the Uyghur people. So I added the garlic, the chopped garlic, to the onions. I cooked the onions first because garlic will tend to burn quite quickly in hot oil. So onions take a little bit longer to cook, so I put the onions in first. And once the onions are kind of half cooked, I added the garlic. So I'm going to cook that for about a minute or so. I'm going to add the green onions. Give that a stir. The green onions don't have to be thoroughly cooked. They can be maybe just warmed up. So we're going to add the cumin. So I have some ground cumin here. I'm going to add a teaspoon of it. So if you have whole cumin, you can add a teaspoon of whole cumin instead of the ground cumin. Then you want to stir that in with the veggies. If you find that the cumin makes the mixture kind of clumpy and kind of pasty, add a little bit more oil. So I added a pinch of salt to season the mix. Just a pinch of salt. And once the cumin's browned a little bit in the oil, we can add the lamb. And like I said, if after you add the cumin, the oil looks kind of pasty, just add a bit more oil just to loosen it up a bit. So yeah, once cumin's had a bit of a chance to brown a bit, we're going to add the lamb to the mixture. So they're a very popular dish in mainland China. So we're going to mix the lamb in with aromatics. So being a Xinjiang dish from Western China, it doesn't conform to traditional Chinese cooking methods. So you won't see the cornstarch thickened gravy really. It's just cooked in oil. And it's got a flavored oil from the cumin and the green onion and the garlic and the onions. A very fragrant dish for sure. And so this is very delicious to eat with rice as well. So there you have it. That's Chinese cumin lamb. Bon appetit.